YouTube, what's going on? It's J&A Exotics, and we're back for another video. Now, we all have dreams, right? Especially in the reptile hobby. Maybe we want to own better enclosures and better setups for our reptiles, or maybe one day we want to own an entire reptile zoo. Or on the much smaller scale, maybe we want to own a specific species. Well, in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about my top 5 dream reptiles. Now, let's jump into it. Number 5 on today's list is going to be the caiman lizard. Now these guys are absolutely incredible. They look like a crossover between an alligator and a tegu. Throw them together, give them a big red head, and you have yourself a caiman lizard. Now these guys are also very cool and have piqued my interest because not only are they semi-arboreal, but they are semi-aquatic. And the wild caiman lizards can be found in Ecuador, Colombia, Brazil, Peru, and the Guianas. Their natural habitat's going to be flooded woodlands and swampy areas where they're going to spend a majority of their time hanging out in tree branches basking above the water. Now these guys can get a pretty big size. Caiman lizards can reach up to 4 feet in length, and they are semi-aquatic and semi-arboreal, as we mentioned, so these guys require a monstrous enclosure to fit their needs. We're talking something that is 8 foot by 4 foot by 6 foot. That is literally almost an entire room of a house, so these guys require an astronomical amount of space. Now, caiman lizards like very warm temperatures, they like it humid, and they like a really hot basking spot. Now, with an enclosure that is literally the size of a room, imagine how much it's going to cost just to heat this thing. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg. It is going to be extremely difficult to meet caiman lizards' requirements. Now, caiman lizards have always piqued my interest because of their diets. They're going to eat things like snails, crawfish, clams. In the wild, they have been seen eating smaller turtles, but just picture their diet. They're eating everything with shells, right? So these guys have to pack a powerful punch in their bite in order to break through these shells. Now, if you happen to get bit by a 4-foot caiman lizard, depending on what part of the body it bites you in, you're not going to have a good time. You're probably going to the hospital, honestly. Now, caiman lizards are actually not that expensive compared to other species of rarer reptiles out there. They range from $400 to $600, but yes, $600 is still extremely expensive, but you could probably buy a caiman lizard cheaper than you can buy some Leachianus geckos. So if caiman lizards are affordable, why are they even on my dream reptile list to begin with? Why don't I just go to the next reptile expo coming up, find a juvenile caiman lizard, buy it, all said and done, I have one of my dream pets? Well, one, it's because of their diets. Their diets are far too diverse. I would have an extremely difficult time finding crawfish and snails for them in my area, and if I do happen to find crawfish and snails, it's going to be extremely expensive for me. And their enclosures are also just far too big. When my wife's done with school, we're going to start a family and we're going to put an addition on the house, so adding an entire room just for a caiman lizard isn't really in the budget right now. Now, number 4 on today's list is going to be the Australian water dragon. Now, there are 2 locales native to Australia of Australian water dragons. I am specifically speaking of the eastern water dragons, not the Gippsland water dragons. Now, no disrespect to the Gippsland water dragon, but the eastern water dragons just look far cooler in my opinion. The Gippsland water dragons are more of like an olive green color, where the males of the eastern Australian water dragons, they have more vibrant reds and oranges in their bodies. And ever since I was a little kid taking care of reptiles and I first seen the eastern Australian water dragon, I've always wanted it, and I'm going to get it one day. Now, just like their cousins, the Chinese water dragons, these guys are arboreal, and they have powerful limbs and powerful tails, which makes them excellent swimmers. Therefore, having a water portion in their enclosure is only going to benefit them. It's going to be a form of enrichment, and it's going to bring out natural behaviors. Australian water dragons can reach lengths up to 3 feet, just like their cousins. Most of the length is going to be their tail, but they do require a relatively large enclosure. The recommended enclosure size for these guys is going to be a 4 foot by 2 foot by 4 foot enclosure, but honestly, I'm going to say take that recommendation, toss it to the side, give them the extra foot, make that a 5 foot by 2 foot by 5 foot enclosure. It gives them more room to climb, and it's going to give them more room for a smaller pond inside of their enclosure. Honestly, just trust me, with larger animals like this, the more room that you can provide them, the better life they're going to have. Now, Australian water dragons are omnivores. They're going to eat things like insects, vegetables, and smaller rodents on occasion. Now, one of the best parts right now about Australian water dragons, and this is going to be great for other people like me who want to own one, but compared to when I first laid eyes on Australian water dragons when I was a little kid, more and more people are working with them, and the prices have gone down significantly. You can get an Australian water dragon right now for around 400 bucks, which again, that's not impossible. Even though these guys are more readily available, I will not be buying one anytime soon. I want to make sure I have the adequate room for these guys to put the biggest enclosure I can for them. That way they can live a long, happy, and healthy life. Now, number 3 on today's list is going to be the Chinese crocodile lizard. Now, these guys are exactly what I think of when I think of a reptile that looks like Godzilla. Now, these guys look like crocodiles, which is actually where they get their names, but they just don't have that elongated head like crocodilians have. They also have different feet than crocodilians. Crocodiles have web feet, where these guys have these long claws that are meant for climbing. Now, in the wild, these guys are located in southern China and Vietnam. They can be found in subtropical forests, above rivers, and near bodies of water. Now, accept their size because these guys only average around 16 inches or so, and their colorations, Chinese crocodile lizards actually remind me a lot of caiman lizards. They have a few similarities. Not only do both these species resemble crocodilians, and they're both semi-aquatic and semi-arboreal, but they actually share some similarities within their diets. Now, Chinese crocodile lizards are going to eat things like snails, just like the caiman lizard, so they're going to have little powerful jaws just to break through the snail shell. They're going to eat insects, smaller tadpoles, and they're going to eat worms. Now, for a smaller lizard, these guys are going to require a relatively larger enclosure to meet their semi-aquatic and semi-arboreal needs. Just like everything else, I'm going to recommend something that's bigger than the recommended size, but I would go no smaller than a 4 foot by 2 foot by 3 foot enclosure for Chinese crocodile lizards. This will just ensure that these guys have plenty of room to climb, swim, and thrive in their habitats. Now, in the wild, Chinese crocodile lizards can be found hanging out in weak, slow-flowing currents in the rivers. So, in your water feature, you're going to have to try to imitate this the best you can. You're also going to have to keep the tank warm, humid, and you're going to have to provide airflow throughout the enclosure. Using small little USB fans can achieve this, but this is not going to be a care guide, so I'm not going to get into that right now. Now, Chinese crocodile lizards are on my dream reptile list because 1, their enclosures are relatively big, and I do not have the room for that at the moment right now, but 2, a single Chinese crocodile lizard is going to run about $2,700 US. That is more than a mortgage payment. Not only are these guys completely out of my price range, but these guys are still rarer in the hobby, and they are non-existent in my area. I do not know a single person that has them. Now, number 2 on today's list is going to be the Fiji banded iguana. Not only are these guys stunning looking, they have this vibrant green color with neon blue stripes that run down their sides, but it gives you a chance to own an iguana that's not going to take up an extreme amount of room. On the larger size, these guys get up to 2 feet, which for an iguana just blows my mind, because whenever you think of iguanas, you think of these big, giant 6-foot monsters that are temperamental and want nothing to do with you. Now, the cold, cruel, harsh reality of me wanting to own a Fiji banded iguana is I will never be able to do so. I live in the United States, and Fiji banded iguanas are protected from international trade because these guys are on the CITES list. In a very dumbed down version of this, when these guys were put on the CITES list and banned from international trade, there was nobody actively working and breeding Fiji banded iguanas in the United States. Therefore, they are non-existent. We cannot trade with other countries to receive them because they are banned from international trade. Therefore, we have no Fiji banded iguanas in the US. I guess it's not completely impossible for me to obtain a Fiji banded iguana. I could simply just pack all my stuff up, head up north to Canada where people are selling them, but that's never going to happen. I like it here where I live, and that's that. Now, Fiji banded iguanas can be found in the southeast islands of Fiji, and they are mostly herbivores, but they have been omnivorous in some occasions. Now, both juvenile Fiji banded iguanas and gravid females need more nutrients in their life currently, so they obtain those nutrients by going after insects to get more protein. But typically, these guys are going to eat fruits, vegetation, and local flowers. Now, Fiji banded iguanas are arboreal, and in the wild, they can be found basking on the tree branches, but these guys, like many other species of iguanas, are great swimmers, so providing a water feature within their enclosure can benefit the Fiji banded iguana. Now again, because of their size, their arboreal needs, and if you do so choose to give them a water feature, I'm going to say Fiji banded iguanas need a 5 foot by 2 foot by 5 foot enclosure at the minimum. Now, I never really have to worry about buying a Fiji banded iguana because it's out of the question. It's just never going to happen in the United States. But a single Fiji banded iguana is going to cost around $2,000. So even if I was able to buy one in the United States, it's not going to happen anytime soon. That's way out of my budget for a pet right now. Now, number 1 on today's list is going to be the green tree monitor. Now, monitors are absolutely impressive. Not only are they intelligent, but a lot of monitors can reach impressive sizes. Now, take one of the coolest species you could possibly ever own, make it a manageable size, and make it arboreal. I love arboreal species. I think they're absolutely incredible. But now you have all the attributes of a green tree monitor. Now, this incredible species can be found in New Guinea, and they're going to be found in palm tree groves and tropical forests. Now, providing enrichment for this species to have some sort of stimulus in their environment is very important. This is going to give your green tree monitor an option to use its motor skills, and you're going to see behaviors that are seen in the wild. These guys are absolutely incredible, and they do require massive amounts of work, but it's like owning a miniature green arboreal velociraptor, and I am completely up for the challenge. Now, in the wild, these guys are not only going to eat insects, but they're going to eat things like frogs, smaller rodents, birds when they have the opportunity to catch them, and other lizards. The green tree monitor is the apex predator. Now, green tree monitors have the capability of reaching 3 feet in length. Now, take into the account that they are not only extremely active, but arboreal. So I would not put a green tree monitor in an enclosure any smaller than 5 feet by 2 feet by 5 feet. Now, if you can afford to give up more room for the enclosure and to make the enclosure bigger, then all the power to you. I 100% recommend you do so. The more room for these guys, the better. Now, these guys are on my dream reptile list, not because of their care needs and the attention they require, because I am 100% ready to take on that challenge, but they cost about $1,500 to $1,600 for a captive bred individual, and the enclosure that they're going to need is going to take up a massive amount of room. Honestly, basically to sum it up, everything on my pet reptile list needs a massive enclosure. Well, there you guys have it. That is my list of my top 5 dream pet reptiles. Let me know what you guys think about the list down in the comment section. Let me know if any of these species are also on your dream pet reptile list. If you guys enjoyed the video, smash the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.